Good morning, students. After a long gap, we are meeting again, and earlier we have completed the first chapter, motion, and I think you have gone through the notes and my videos, and you have solved the numerical problems. Now, today we will start the next chapter, force and laws of motion. So, in previous chapter, we have described about motion, that the object is moving in a straight line, uh, and we have discussed the motion in terms of its position, velocity and acceleration. We have also discussed uniform motion and non-uniform motion. Now in this chapter we will find out the cause of motion, what causes motion. So if you think about it, the motion is always caused by applying force. When we will push anything or when you will pull anything, then you will find that yes, object is in motion, isn't it? So in this topic we have to read about force, and force is not a new term for you. In junior classes you have read about it, and we have simply defined it as a push or pull. But now we are in class 9, and you are familiar with a new term, that is acceleration. So we can say that force is something which produces acceleration in an object. So write this definition. Force is something which produces or try to produce acceleration in an object. Then we have to read about types of forces. Types of force. So broadly we can divide force into two types: balanced and unbalanced force. So what a balanced force is? Balanced force. Suppose we have an object. Suppose this is the object, and let two forces are acting on it from the left side. You can mark these forces as F1 and F2, and from right side also two forces are acting. You can mark it as F3 and F4. So suppose two forces are acting on the object from left side and two are acting on it from right side, and let the magnitude of force F1 is 3 Newton, here it is suppose 7 Newton, here F3 is 7 Newton, F4 is 3 Newton. So in this case, what do you think? The object will move or it will not move? So object will not move, because sum of forces on the left side, sum of forces, it means F1 plus F2 is equal to sum of forces on the right side, that is F3 plus F4. So object will not move, no acceleration will be produced on the object. If no motion, no acceleration. So we can say that forces are said to be balanced when they produce zero acceleration or no acceleration in an object. So write this definition also. Forces are said to be balanced when they produce zero acceleration in an object. Forces are said to be balanced when they produce zero acceleration in an object is equal to 0. Then unbalanced force. Unbalanced force, just opposite of it. Unbalanced force. Take another example. Now change the magnitude of the forces. Suppose there is an object and two forces are acting on it from left side, and suppose this force is of 10 Newton and here we have a force of 1 Newton. So what do you think? What will happen in this case? The object will move in which direction? If we add the forces on the left side, it will be 17 Newton. And if we add the forces on right side, it will be 7 plus 1, 8 Newton. So there is a difference in magnitude of forces in left and right side. So 17 minus 8. So 9 Newton force. A force of 9 Newton. The difference of these two forces is 9. So a 9 Newton force is acting towards right. So the object will move towards right direction. So here acceleration is not equal to 0 because F1 plus F2 is not equal to F3 plus F4, isn't it? So now write a definition for it. Forces are said to be unbalanced. Forces are said to be unbalanced when they produce acceleration in an object. Forces are said to be unbalanced when they produce acceleration in an object. Now some examples are also given in your book. You open page 115. NCERT page 115 and go through the book. I am reading the last paragraph left side. It is written, what happens when some children try to push a box on a rough floor? Example diagram is also given in your book. If they push the box with small force, the box does not move. So the floor is very rough and there is a heavy box on it, and initially if children are applying a small force, then the box will not move. Why box will not move? Because frictional force is very high. The box does not move because of friction acting in the direction opposite to the push. So as you know, friction always opposes motion, so it acts in the opposite direction. As a result, box will not move. The frictional force arises between the two surfaces in contact. In this case, between the bottom of the box and floor rough surfaces. It balances the pushing force and therefore box does not move. Now look at second figure 9.4b. The children push the box harder but the box still does not move. This is because the frictional force still balances the pushing force. If the children push the box harder still, the pushing force becomes bigger than the frictional force. There is an unbalanced force, so the box starts moving. So if they will try hard, they are applying all effort on the box, then they will overcome the frictional force and ultimately the box starts moving. So the box starts moving due to unbalanced force. Initially, the force applied by the children and the frictional force are in balanced condition. They are just balancing each other. As a result, the box was not moving. But when they try hard, they apply more and more force, then they are able to move it, and then force is no longer balanced, it becomes unbalanced because the effort applied by the children, the pushing force is greater than the frictional force. What happens when we ride a bicycle? When we stop paddling, the bicycle begins to slow down. This is again because of frictional force acting opposite to the direction of motion. In order to keep the bicycle moving, we have to start paddling again. It thus appears that an object maintains its motion under the continuous application of an unbalanced force. So an object will move when continuously an unbalanced force acts on it. Because when we are pedaling a bicycle, we are applying an unbalanced force on it. As a result, it overcomes the frictional force and it starts moving. But when we stop pedaling it, then the frictional force gradually opposes the motion. Frictional force acts between the road surface and the tires of the cycle, and gradually the speed of cycle will slow down and it will stop. To make it motion, to make it in motion, we have to pedaling it continuously. So these are the some examples of balanced and unbalanced force, and then we have to read about laws of motion. Laws of motion are very important topic. So let us start Newton's laws of motion. Newton's laws of motion. So Newton has given three laws of motion. Newton has given three laws of motion. First law of motion. So first law of motion is very simple. It simply states that if an object is at rest, it will remain at rest. If and if an object is moving, it always try to be in motion unless and until an external force acts on it. So there are two parts. First part says that an object at rest will always try to be at rest unless and until an external force acts on it. So suppose a piece of stone is lying on the earth's surface, so it will remain there if we will not apply a force on it to just change its position. If no one will apply force, it will remain there for a long period of time. So first part is very simple. Any book is kept on the almirah, it will be remain there unless and until you will not take out by applying a force on it. So generally the objects try to be in rest. Another part of this law is that if an object is in motion, it will try to continue its motion unless and until an external force acts on it. So you can say that suppose we are riding a cycle. So when we are riding a cycle, when you stop paddling it, although the cycle is in motion, so it should continue its motion, but due to external force, although external forces are not visible here, when you are just stop paddling the cycle, the external force is not visible to us, because the external forces are the frictional force which act between the road surface and the cycle tire, then a little bit air resistance, then gravity. All these are the external forces which act on the cycle and ultimately it stops. So this is not a violation of first law of motion. We can't say that yes, we stop paddling the cycle, then why it stops? It stops because external forces are acting on it, although the external forces are not visible to us. As I have said earlier, the external forces are frictional force, gravity, and a little bit air resistance. So very important, the first law of motion. Write the statement for it. Right, an object at rest will remain at rest. Will remain at rest, and an object in motion will continue its motion unless and until an external force acts on it. Written. Now the first law of motion, right? First law of motion gives definition of inertia. First law of motion gives definition of inertia. Inertia is a very important term. What do you mean by inertia? Inertia is a natural tendency of an object to resist a change in its state of rest or motion. That is called inertia. हिंदी में इनर्शिया को हम जड़ता बोलते हैं। जड़ता यानी अगर कोई चीज रेस्ट में रहना चाहता है तो वो रेस्ट में ही रहना चाहेगा, अगर कोई मोशन में है तो वो मोशन में ही रहना चाहेगा। तो ये जो टेंडेंसी है इसको हम इनर्शिया कहते हैं। सो inertia is a very important term, and we are getting the definition of inertia from first law. So write the term inertia, write down inertia, and then write a definition for it. Write a definition for it. Right, the natural tendency of object, the natural tendency of object to resist a change, the natural tendency of objects to resist a change in their state of rest, or of uniform motion, is called inertia. Written, the natural tendency of object to resist a change in their state of rest or of uniform motion is called inertia. Now, inertia, how we can measure inertia? So it is very common that if you have to shift a small object, you have to apply a less force, isn't it? If the object is very heavy and you want to shift it, you have to apply more force on it. So the inertia depends on mass of the object. So that sentence is also important. You write a sentence that mass is the measurement of inertia. Write down, mass is the measurement of inertia. More mass, more inertia. And vice versa. It means if mass is less, inertia is also less. Understood? Now we have to read about types of inertia. So there are three types of inertia. So first one is inertia of rest. Inertia of rest. Inertia of rest means, according to it, a body at rest will always try to be at rest. So this tendency is known as inertia of rest. So write, according to it, a body at rest will remain at rest unless and until an external force act on it. So according to it, a body at rest will remain at rest unless and until an external force acts on it. And it is very simple, but examples related with it are very important. Examples based on inertia of rest are very important. For example, we will discuss one question based on it, that why passengers fall backward when a bus accelerates from rest, or start moving from rest. Why passengers fall backward when a bus accelerates from rest? So you also feel that suppose you are sitting in a bus and all of a sudden the bus starts moving, you all fall backward on your seat, isn't it? So why this happens? So when you are sitting inside a bus, our lower portion of the body is in direct contact with the bus. You are just sitting in a bus, so our lower portion is in direct contact with the bus, while upper portion of our body is not in direct contact. So as the bus moves, our lower portion also starts moving along with the bus, but the upper portion try to remain at rest. Why this upper portion try to remain at rest? Due to inertia of rest. As a result, we fall backward, or the passengers fall backward. So write an answer for it. Right, this is because when passengers are sitting in a bus, their lower portion is in direct contact with the bus. Their lower portion is in direct contact with the bus, comma. So as the bus moves forward, as the bus accelerates or moves forward, their lower portion also move forward. Their lower portion also move forward along with the bus. While upper portion try to remain at rest, due to inertia of rest. This line is very important. You have to must mention why passengers fall backward. It means due to inertia of rest. As a result, passengers fall backward. Understood? Now, so many questions are given in your book, and I am giving these questions as homework. NCERT book homework. Page 118. Question number 1, 2, and 3. And from chapter and exercises also. Page 128. Question number 2. Page 128. Question number 2. For example, question number 2, it is given, when a carpet is beaten with a stick, dust comes out of it, explain. Giving this question as a homework. So what you will write, when we beat a carpet, the carpet set in motion. When you beat a carpet, the carpet set in motion, whereas dust particle try to remain at rest. Why? Due to inertia of rest. Whereas dust particle try to remain at rest due to inertia of rest. As a result, they fall down due to due to gravity. Then there is a question which I have given, page 118, that explain why some of the leaves may get detached from a tree if we vigorously shake its branches. So similarly, you will write, if we vigorously shake the branch of a tree, then the branch set in motion, and some of the leaves which are dry, they are not so firmly attached with the branches. So due to inertia of rest, they try to remain at rest and get detached from their branch and fall down. So, but the questions are very important, you must go through it. And in next class, we will discuss the other types of inertia, that is inertia of motion and inertia of direction.